Okay, today we're going to learn about Michael Jeffries' airplane. So, Michael Jeffries was the CEO of Abercrombie, and he had a 48-page manual on his airplane, which included some basic stuff about the doors, but you also had to make sure when walking through the aircraft, check for fingerprints and wipe them down. He wanted flowers and a low arrangement on the credenza, and make sure to vacuum from the front of the airplane to the back. And then he wanted 8 folded washcloths on his housing behind the vanity, along with a bar of Joe Malone soap. When the aircraft levels off, check the lavatory to make sure the soap did not slide out of place. Use latex gloves to wipe down the sink and the toilet. And turn on the 4 reading lights at the front of the aircraft, the 2 table lamps, the 2 glass cases, the mirror light, and then turn off the lights when the passengers go to bed. All reading lights should be flat and flush. He wanted the following magazines to be kept in the right side of the credenza. This is on the airplane, by the way. So he wanted Business Week, Economist, Elle Decor, Fortune, Gentleman's Quarterly, New York, Newsweek, Time, Town and Country, Vanity Fair, and Vogue. And then set out a copy of each magazine, regardless of whether or not Michael or Matthew has seen it. So Matthew is Michael's boyfriend. Now, make sure that the rule CDs are playing when the passengers board the aircraft. Adjust the volume to V and turn the music off when opening for takeoff. For return flights, play the first track on the Gilly Hicks CD, which is saying, make sure that Take Me Home is playing when passengers enter the cabin. He also wanted newspapers, so Financial Times, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, IHT, and the London Times when he's in the UK. And now here's where it gets interesting. Fold the seat belts and make sure to wipe down the seat belts. And the buckles should have a 10-inch space between them and should be free of fingerprints and marks. Now, the staff uniform must have the following: jeans, polo shirts, flip-flops, a belt, a coat, a hat, gloves, sunglasses, boxer briefs, a sweatshirt, and a cell phone. And these must be Abercrombie. Now, the winter coat may be worn when you're working outside of the house. You must wear the coat when it's 50 degrees or colder. You must not wear the coat when it's above 50 degrees. Zip the jacket up to the 4th button from the bottom. The lowest button should be undone. And flip up the collar. The male staff should spritz their uniform with Abercrombie and Fitch 41 cologne upon arrival and throughout the duration of the shift. You must wear gloves when it's below 40. Make sure the brim of the hat is 2 inches thick. Now, check it out. Your shirt must be tucked in between the front 2 belt loops and none of the buttons should be fastened. The jeans must sit at the hips. And make sure that your uniform is always clean, and when on duty, all staff carry a cell phone. You can wear boots, but you cannot wear boots during the flight. You must be clean shaven and not wear earrings or bracelets. The event coordinator will collect the coats on May 1st and distribute them on October 1st. So, and then of course we've got the standard regulations for the airplane, but the steward must always be awake, must do an inventory and a checklist, and check the pens to make sure that they are writing. No big deal. No big deal here with the crew duties. Oh, and he's got dogs. So when the dogs are flying, the houseman will direct the bags to the captain and the line guy, and the houseman will take the dogs onto the aircraft and hand them to the steward. The houseman will then bring all the carry-ons. So his dog's name's Ruby and Trouble. When Ruby sits opposite Michael in the cabin in Sammy's seat, and then when Sammy travels, Ruby sits in Trouble's seat. So there's seats for the dogs. I don't know if Sammy's a dog. But then, leave one suitcase accessible, but before packing the items, ask Michael, is there anything you need from your shopping bags before I place them in your suitcase? The bags can go in the baggage compartment and they must be labeled. You should put a tag with the passenger's name, and then you can figure out who the passengers are and give them back their stuff. If a guest has a coat while they are still standing, you must say, let me take your coat. If they bring any carry-ons, you must say, let me place this up front and I can bring it to you whenever you need it. Is there anything you will need from your bag? Be sure to address each passenger by name when handing back their coat. When Michael, Matthew, or a guest makes a request, say, no problem. Now, you have to also, it tells you how to make the bed, and then if it's an overnight flight, immigration, coffee. When there's guests, you must have coffee, and if they want coffee other than during meal service, ask them how they would like their coffee prepared. Pour and stir coffee and bring it to them on a saucer with a cocktail napkin. Otherwise, you have to bring out a small silver tray with tongs, a sugar bowl, and creamer. And then Matthew has a specific tea service, and there's a drawing of exactly what he wants. So he drinks tea in the morning and Darjeeling tea at 2 p.m. And it has to have a tray with a flask of boiled water, a teapot with 2 scoops of tea, creamer, strainer, cup and saucer, a 1 5/4 inch teaspoon, and a cocktail napkin. Place and there's instructions on exactly how he has to get his tea. Now refill all beverages with flasks and pitchers, and bring them a new glass. In the mornings, you say, may I offer you coffee, tea, juice, soda, or water? And in the evenings, you say, may I offer you wine or a cocktail? But in the summer, you can also offer lemonade. The first glass of wine should be pre-poured. Now, you must make sure that there is enough time to serve a meal. So, the steward lets Matthew know when to sit down for meal service and may need to give cues as to the pace of the meal. If there ends up not being enough time to serve the dessert, then do not try to squeeze in the course. Always use silver that is polished. Use the black gloves for touching the silverware and the white gloves for laying the table. The table has linens that will be pressed at 2 Easton Oval prior to the flight. Linens are stored in the pantry. So there's a specific linen for the napkin, the fork, the dinner fork, the luncheon knife, the dinner knife, the wine glass, a red wine glass, salt and pepper, and flowers, and a fish fork and a fish knife if there's fish. If there's at least one steward, then you must use then you must have the silver service, and if there's two stewards, then you have to use mirrored silver service, where dishes are placed and removed at the same time. When there's too many passengers, then the meal must be served using a plated service, which is a little bit less fancy, but it's pretty much the same. But they just serve all the food at the same time, including the dinner and the lunch and fork and the entree and the dessert and the cheese course and the coffee and the tray liner and the glass of water with lemon, and then serve and refilling the drinks, and then the dinner plate and the dessert and the coffee and the crew meals. So check it out. A crew is not allowed to have a hot meal or smelly meals. If the passengers are eating cold food, then the crew members have to eat cold food, and they have to eat in the crew area. Now, about 45 minutes before they land, you gotta tell them that you're landing, and then they come to pick up the bags and say goodbye. One of the stewards accompanies Michael and Matthew, and then they offload the bags, and they have to warm up the vehicles at the Columbus airport because these guys are from Ohio. So when the aircraft arrives, you have to warm up the vehicle and transport them. Otherwise, he might be taking the helicopter home. And then when everybody gets off the plane, they do the inventory of the plane, and then they wait in the lobby, the guest arrival. If there's bad weather, then there's no van, then they have to wait. And if they have a coat, you can take their coat, and you can serve them drinks at the lobby. But for a meal service, they can have cinnamon rolls, including a tray with a fork and a knife, so they can eat the cinnamon roll with a fork and knife. And if there's hors d'oeuvres, they also get napkins. And then if there's snacks, he wants pretzels and squirrel nuts, and warm them up in the microwave, and start at the back and work to the front. When serving, begin with the back and work to the front. If Michael is seated in the front, serve their section last. If they're serving in separate sections, then serve Michael second to last and Matthew last. And then make sure everybody has snacks and keep replacing their bowls. And tray liners. So then we got lunch, and then we got the meal service. So use the mirror servicing, and then clear the table. And yeah, that's basically it. But it's made a huge controversy when it came out that they were so um, autistic about what they wanted on their plane. And we're gonna find out why.